Hey guys, what is up? Tabs here from the Urban Goddess Shop and welcome back to my channel. Today's video, we're going to be going over, I can't even believe I'm saying this, my first Whatnot sale. I finally made the jump into Whatnot. I know I have been dragging my feet. I'm probably the last reseller to do a show there. I did do my onboarding back in April and it just took me this long to actually kind of come over my fears and convince myself to give it a shot. I am a firm believer in not knocking something until you've done it. And I've been kind of knocking on Whatnot and not trying it. Today's video, we're going to go over my experience, the good, the bad, the ugly, and at the very end, we're going to break down my numbers and you're going to get to see how I did. First off, if you are new and you don't know what Whatnot is, basically it's a live auction streaming platform. You can have it on your phone or your computer and people do live auctioning. And basically anyone who's watching the show can place live bids, kind of participate in the show. You can also comment and have conversations, which I think is really cool. I like the interaction part. They've been around since 2019, but they just opened up the clothing category in spring 2022. It has like blown up. Now I will say, I feel like a lot of the buyers on there are resellers and the app is still in growth period for their clothing category. I'm kind of hoping that this will transition more into buyers coming in. We'll talk about that later. I have other thoughts on that. Let's just jump right into it. So I want to say I was super skeptical about going onto Whatnot. I didn't think it would work for me. I didn't think it would work for my business model. I had so many misconceptions. We're going to break down the top 3 myths that I think everyone has playing in their head. First one is no one makes money on Whatnot, and I'm going to disagree and we'll talk about that later. It's not true. Second is that you have to be a bin shopper and your cost of goods has to be like $1 to $2 an item. Now, as you guys know, for me, that is not true either. I am not a bin shopper. I did talk to a couple other resellers that do not have bins close to them that I knew had a higher cost of goods, but we're also having quite a bit of sales and making good money on it. We are going to talk about the strategies in a few minutes, but that is not true either. And then the third one is that you had to start your bids at $1 to $2. Guys, I did not start my bids at $1 to $2. I started my bids at a certain point. I'll discuss the strategy later, but that's not true either. So if someone has told you that, do not believe it. And I'm going to explain to you guys how you can do this and how you can make it work for possibly your business model. So first off, I want to chat with how I prepped my sale. I decided to do the sale on Wednesday night at 6 p.m., scheduled the show, and started to collect the items that I was going to sell. I had a huge death pile of items that I've just been procrastinating. So I was able to pull a bunch of items from there first. Now I knew in my head that I was kind of wanting to do a Whatnot show in a week or two, and I had actually been out sourcing earlier that day as well for items that I felt like had high value, but I was picking up for a decent price because obviously I want to start my bids as low as possible, but I also want to make money on the items. My strategy was to list items that the retail price was over $50. I mean, my ideal is probably over $75, and I think this is one of the aspects that helps me start my bids at more than $5. I also threw out a post onto Instagram and I threw out a post onto YouTube. If you guys saw it, thank you so much for joining the show. I know it was so last minute and I apologize to anyone that just couldn't make it because wasn't enough time to plan. I also went through my personal closet because that inventory is free. So I grabbed some of my own personal things. There was a couple things that my girls wanted to get rid of. The last thing that I did was pull a few items from my Posh closet. My theory for this was just kind of filling in different styles, trends, and gaps that I felt like I was missing in the items I was trying to sell. I definitely was trying to go for a fall vibe and I wanted to make sure that I had some, brands and styles that I would normally sell on Poshmark as well. Once I had everything hung up and ready to get going, I followed a tip from my PFF and bestie Danica, Thrifty Stew. I'm going to pop a link up to her Whatnot video. She also did her first Whatnot sale like 2 weeks ago. And I just took some recipe cards and I cut them in half and then cut them in half again, so into 4, and wrote down the numbers. This is literally what they look like. I then hole punched them and then just hung them on each hanger and numbered them. We're going to talk about the numbering system in a few minutes. It actually was really easy this way. And then I also organized them so that brands and styles were kind of mixed throughout. My advice to anyone that's setting up for a sale is to make sure you put all your lighter items at the front. And then this way, when people start to bundle or buy things, it puts the cheapest item first because all the shipping is kind of based on on weight, basically. So your lighter items go first, they get a better deal on the first item, and then each additional item is added onto that. But it goes based on weight. Once I had all the items hung up, prepped, I steamed a couple things that needed to be steamed, you know, delinted, used my sweater shaver on a couple items that I knew had some pilling that were in my death pile. And then I kind of just got to listing. I did FaceTime Danica. She kind of talked me through the process because she had done it previously, but I'm going to actually just tell you guys how to do it because it is so simple. So I'm going to slide over and I'm going to pop up a screen share here. This is just listing an item. So the first thing that I would do is go into my show and click the plus button. When you hit the plus button, this is where you would add in a listing. The first thing that I found to do that made the most sense was to weigh the item, and everything has to be weighed because it's kind of like eBay. The shipping is based on the weight. So what I did was take the item off the hanger and just toss it on the scale. I have like a little kitchen scale one. I don't really recommend it. I mean, it will work to get you through, but I'm going to be purchasing a better scale that just kind of has a bigger base that can really hold an item. My hack around this, because it was hard to like lay a dress on this or fold a sweater and get it to stay, I took a Value Village paper bag, basically like cut it in half, and I placed it on the scale and tared it. So tearing is when you zero it out, right? So it doesn't count the weight of the paper bag. And then I used the paper bag basically as a basket, and I would just toss the item in, see what the weight was, put in the weight in the app, and then I would move through the rest of the categories that you have to fill out. First category is setting it to auction. Because you're doing a live auction, you're streaming it, you want to make sure that that category is selected. Number two is you want to select the category. For these, I was doing women's, modern, and thrifting. You could also select vintage, and I guess really depending what you plan on selling, there's a bunch of other categories. For the items that I'm selling, I'm just doing women's, modern, and thrifted. The third is the title. So how I did this was I started with the inventory number first. If the inventory number was 36, I put 36. Then I put the title similar to what I would put for Poshmark, including the size, and if it was new with tags, I put that at the end. For the fourth category, you're gonna do your description. My advice to you is start with your starting bid, whatever it is. So you'd put like $5 space SB, which stands for your starting bid, and basically that just tells you and anyone who's looking through your show, this is what you're going to be starting the item at. After that, I put on very basic measurements, and I don't even think everyone has to do it. I think just because I was selling higher ASP items, I felt like I should have measurements in them. I also would include retail price if it was new with tags, and I would repeat new with tags in the description as well. I think there's different ways that you can do this, and as I've been creeping on other people's shows, I kind of look at what they put in their descriptions, but I felt like this was simple, easy, but also kind of got through the facts that I wanted to put through. And then the last category is just taking your photos, and it's so simple. I literally just took the item, hung it on the hook on my wall, took a picture. I was taking a picture of the brand label just to show, and then you could take a picture of a flaw, or if you wanted to do material content, really it's up to you. I know a lot of people are only taking one photo, but again, I really pride myself on quality pieces and high value, so I wanted to make sure I was giving everyone enough information prior to the sale so that they could decide what maybe they were hoping to bid on or what they were hoping to get. Here is something important. Once you add the item into the auction, the only thing that you can change after is add photo, change the title and description. You cannot change the weight of it. So you have to weigh the items when you first list them, or you have to relist it. Like you would just have to create a new listing. I highly recommend just doing it while you list it. If you're an eBay seller, you probably already know how much everything weighs and have a good idea, you know, how much a pair of Lulu leggings weigh, how much a shirt or a sweater or whatever. But if you're new to this whole weighing thing, make sure you're just weighing them as you're listing them. It just makes shipping at the end so much easier. Once the show is ready, you got everything good to go, make sure you're promoting it, whatever platforms you're on. Make sure you are promoting, talking about your sale. This is the best way to advertise, I think, until people get to know who you are on the app. It does take time for people to see what you're selling, what you're listing, you know, what your vibe is, because I do think this is very much social selling. Another thing that you could do is you can actually add like a live video. It's almost like a story at the top, so you can do a story for your sale. I've seen some really unique ones. I kind of just took one where I was like flipping through the rack and like looking at all the brands, looking at the quality. I hope that that was enough to bring people in, but now that I've been spending more time on the app, some people are super creative and do some great videos. So I have some ideas. I may try a few new things, but basically you can just take a video of the inventory that you have and what you're going to be putting in. Remember, this is like advertising on the app. So you want to entice people. If people are scrolling through the stories and clicking on them, you want them to see your sale and bookmark it and be like, I don't want to miss their sale, right? This is probably the best way for you to advertise in app until people start to know who you are. On show day, if you were at my show, you know there were some technical difficulties. Ideally, what I had set up was my ring light and my phone and that. I was gonna stream from my phone, and then I had my laptop set up on a table. Lena was helping me during the show, so she was gonna be starting the bids on the laptop. Ideally though, I think you need 2 devices to do it. So I know some people use their phone to stream and then they'll have like an iPad, or they'll have a second phone, like an older phone that they'll be kind of starting their bids on. But I do think you need 2 devices. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's how it works. Now, at this point, you would just go onto your phone, open the app, and hit stream. But in my case, this is where things went like sideways. I could not get the stream to start on my phone. And I did actually have a call with Whatnot the next day. They had planned one like 2 days before with me, and I was able to get some feedback on that. So I think the problem was that I had Whatnot open on my laptop and I had it open on my phone, and they said I need to shut everything down on my laptop and have it only on my phone, start the live stream, and then open Whatnot on my laptop. And we didn't do it that way. I also needed to do an update, and when I updated, it still didn't make a difference. And I was like so stressed out and so anxious that I just started it from my laptop. Let me tell you this, never do it from your laptop. The mirroring doesn't work. They did say certain brands and like models of laptops they're having this issue on, so I don't know if this is with everyone, but I have a MacBook Pro, and it like changed the video quality to what I think is super poor, and the video quality on my MacBook Pro is excellent. And then it also had like this weird mirror, so I had to point my laptop like 45 degrees the other direction for it to look straight on to me. And I felt like I spent half of my show, if you were there, I was so embarrassed, just trying to line up with the camera. It was a struggle. Without that, I think it would have been absolutely amazing. I think I had a blast regardless, but that just added some extra stress to me. So it's not something that happens to everyone. Of course, it just happened to me. And that was the only thing. I do not recommend ever starting the live from your laptop. If anything, I would just postpone the show. Postpone the show for another hour, try and like troubleshoot it, try and figure out. Just do not do it from your laptop, because that was just crazy. Sorry, I have like notes here that I'm kind of looking at. I think you could easily do this without a helper. I had Lena help me. I wasn't sure how many people were going to come into the show. I also prepped 70 items by the end of the day, like of my show. I added another 10 items. It was just a lot to go through. I think just with my nerves and everything, I took on a lot in a very short period of time. But yeah, I just wanted that help in here. I think I could probably do a show of 70 on my own now that I kind of know how everything works. And of course, if all of the technology worked how it was supposed to. I think the people in this live were somewhere between 60 and 70 most of the time. And it was just a lot of action, which I thought was so awesome. I'm so happy that everyone had a great time and was like chatting with each other. But as the person doing the auction, it was very hard for me to keep up with what was going on in there. Also, I didn't have my glasses and I was trying to read it on my laptop. It was just not ideal. So I'm hoping for my next show that I'll have my glasses on and I'll be able to read the comments good on my phone. We'll see. Both of my kids want to be involved in these live auctions. My oldest, she had a lot of fun being involved. She was so excited. She loved reading all the comments. She just was so blown away with how amazing everyone was on there, despite the challenges that her and I were obviously having during our first show. So if you were there, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your like kindness. Like, I'm trying not to cry here. it was amazing. Like you guys were amazing. And it was just so cool that my daughter could also see like how cool this community is and how supportive. And yeah, okay, not gonna cry right now. We are moving on. Yeah, so I did not choose to take requests. So people can request during a live show, like, hey, can you auction off number 25 and number 76 and blah, blah, blah. I didn't do that. I think with the amount of items that I had, it was just challenging enough, and the technical difficulties that it just, yeah. And I don't know if I'll do it for the first couple of shows, because it just makes it a little bit easier for me to mess up or to get out of order or to kind of lose my gears. I'm a Virgo. I like everything in order, in the proper way. And jumping all over just was, yeah, I can't handle it yet, but I'm hoping to get there. I am hoping to get to that point where I can take requests and jump around during the sale. All right, so that kind of wrapped up the sale. We did 70 items in 2 hours, which I now look back and I'm like, man, I think I could do the show probably in an hour and a half. Now that I'm not as nervous, I know what to expect with all my technology working properly. I think that would be doable. What I would do is probably hop onto my live like 20 minutes before and just kind of chat with anyone that wants to show up early, because I actually just like hanging out with you guys and talking and answering questions and just like hearing what everyone's up to and how their days are going. Just like being friends. I like that part. I wish there was a way for us to like better communicate, but I understand why commenting is the only way they're allowing people to come in. Yeah, I like the communication part. It's fun. It's so nice to like actually have an interaction with people while you're selling. And then after that, I had to start shipping. And again, Danica came in and saved me. Her and I FaceTimed the minute I got off, because I had to have everything shipped by 11 a.m. the next day, because we were leaving out of town. We were going 8 hours away. I had to get all of this done. I had to ship 63 items, which I have never done in my reselling career. Like, I've never had to do that. That was crazy. It was crazy. Most of it was bundles, but it was still crazy. So the shipping, honestly, I'm going to do a separate video on that, because I feel like I need to work out my own processes, and that there's probably easier ways to do things. And I'm going to figure that out, and then I'm going to share it with you guys. So if you are a whatnot seller, I'm going to create a video and I'll kind of explain how I'm doing it. To me, it's very similar to eBay and Etsy, where you have to weigh the items. So the only thing, okay, number one, I love their dashboard. The dashboard was super user-friendly. It was easy to understand. It broke down like the username, the order number, and then the items they bought. It also included your title, so that's where your inventory number was great. I just came into here. I literally saw the username, grabbed all the numbers, all the inventory, double checked, make sure it was right, folded into a pile. Took the next person's order, picked everything, put it in a pile. Once I had all the piles, I then packaged them, remeasured to make sure the dimensions were correct, because you have to do that in the dashboard. Prior to printing the label, you have to adjust the measurements and make sure the weight is correct. If not, it will generate a label and you will have to pay for a new label. So make sure you edit before you print. That is like the most important part of shipping that you have to remember. But other than that, it was pretty easy. Like, I just packaged it up, double checked the measurements, put it back on the scale, and I was like, yep, all good, entered it, printed the label. I was able to use my thermal printer. It does want to print the packing slips onto your thermal printer, but I just went to custom and just printed the last label, which was the shipping label. If you are shipping in the US, I think it's USPS, and in Canada, it was Canada Post. I also had an American sailor too, and again, it was just through Canada Post, so it was really easy. If you're selling in Canada on any other platform besides Poshmark, this really isn't that difficult. The other thing I would recommend is take your time, make sure you double check your bundles, that everything is correct. For me, this is probably more bundling than I normally do in larger bundles. I really wanted to make sure, and I actually caught like 2 mistakes when I was double checking that I had kind of mixed up sweaters in an order. Both of them were like Lululemon knit sweaters, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was close. Very different sweaters, but the keywords were very similar. I would make sure you're paying attention to that. All right, let's go over the takeaways and advice that I have, because this is kind of the part where you're like, okay, I'm thinking about doing a show. What do I need to know? I would start with number one, personal items, because these are zero cost inventory. Number two, death pile. Maybe inventory you've been sitting on forever because you already bought it. Do you know what I mean? You haven't tried to sell it, whatever. Start with that. And then you can also pull older inventory from your Posh closet. Doesn't mean it's not good stuff. It just might be stuff that you're struggling selling to the people that follow your closet or that, you know, normally purchase from you. What doesn't sell for one person can sell for another, and vice versa. Just because you can't sell it on Posh doesn't mean it won't sell on another platform. People buy differently on different platforms. I would also start your bidding, like your start bidding, your start bid. I'm just getting used to all these terms, at your cost of goods plus their commission. If you don't have a really low cost of goods and you're unsure how your items will do, and obviously you don't want to lose money doing your show, I would do this. So basically their commission is 10.9% plus 30 cents each listing. So what I did, because our sales are in Canadian, I actually took what the cost of goods was in Canadian. I had a little conversion chart. Thank you, Danica, again for giving me this idea, and converted it into USD. Once I was in USD at like base cost, I added the commission at that point. I just rounded to 11% and kept it at that. And then when starting my bid, I just rounded it up to the nearest dollar. Starting at this point, I knew that I was not going to lose money on an item. Worst case, I'm breaking even, and I'm learning through the process, right? Because I have to try and sell items to find out what people are looking for, what sizes, what styles, what brands. Like, it's just a totally different platform that you're trying to sell on. How I like to look at it is best case, people bid on your items and you make some money. Worst case, no one bids at all and you don't make any money on the item. I had a couple items. So I originally did 67 items, and out of those 67 items, I had 4 items not sell. I then actually added on 3 more items at the end of the auction because people were wanting Levi's, and I had a couple more pairs of Levi's wedgies that I had just thrifted, and I live auctioned those with a pair of Lulus. One of the Lulus and I think one of the Levi's maybe didn't sell. I can't remember how it worked. I did have another 1 or 2 items that didn't sell. You know what? The way I see it, it's no sweat off my back, right? Worst case, I relist the item or I donate it. In my case, for the items from the auction side, like from my planned one, the items just weren't really great qualities and a couple of them had flaws. So at that point, I don't think I'm going to list them. I actually think I'm just going to donate those items and kind of move on. But your worst case is that you just put it back in your Posh closet, right? Or you break even. And I mean, it sucks if you break even on every single item because then you put in all that work and you didn't make any money. But I'm hoping that if that were the case, that you would learn, okay, those items are not selling for me, or my starting bid wasn't okay, and you gotta just reevaluate what you're doing, right? The other thing I would recommend is have a couple drinks close by, because you need to be prepared that you could be talking for 1 or 2 hours at a time. And you might get a little frog in your throat or dryness, and it just helps to have, you know, some water, some beverages. I had a couple cookies up here, like soft kind of oatmeal cookies that her and I could nibble on if we got hungry. And then I think the last thing is just to be yourself, like have fun, be yourself. Your vibe will attract your tribe. My tribe can be different from your tribe and every other person's tribe, but your people are out there. You just have to do a couple sales so that your people can find you. And I think that that's the different aspect to it than, you know, Poshmark or eBay. This is definitely like a social selling platform, right? People are going to the sales of the people that they enjoy, the personalities they enjoy. A lot of it is transferring over from social media, and don't get me wrong, I know that my social following had an impact on my sale. Having like 70 people show up to your first sale, having an almost sold out sale, these are not common things to expect from a first sale. Please, I am not ignorant to that. I am well aware that my social following had a positive impact on my sale. I do know other people that don't have as large of social followings that are also seeing success in different ways on the platform. I think there's room for many different business models here, and that It's not just cookie cutter as people have been thinking it is. Like I said before, I think it's important to note, no one made $1,000 on their first week of Poshmark, okay? We all had many sales that didn't go well. We all had many buys that we've lost money on. I've like sourced things that I have literally just donated back, like didn't make any money on it. I have had items that I've given such a good discount on Poshmark that I lost money on it. I don't do that anymore, not anymore. I will just pull the item and donate it. I will not lose money, but there are ways to lose money on Poshmark as well. So keep that in mind. Now, the other thing that I need to note here is that it is in USD. Everything is in USD. On the call that I had with Whatnot, I did make a recommendation that they do a conversion. If I'm signed up under Canada, my sales are going into Canada, you guys are charging me separate shipping, why can't it just convert in the app and show it in Canadian dollars? We'll see if that happens. I don't know. I put the request in, but as of right now, it's in USD, so just make sure you're keeping that in mind. That's also how they pay you out, is in USD, but we'll talk about the numbers coming up really quickly. So I have a few things I want to chat about at this point. You've stuck around, you're interested, you want to know what this is all about. Now, if you have not signed up for Whatnot, but you want to check it out, maybe hit up a show or two and maybe make your first purchase, I have a link below. This is for buyers. This is for first timers. When you sign up, you will get a $10 credit to spend at the first show. I also get a $10 credit. It's very similar to Poshmark. I like this because it actually like entices people to try it and gives you some money to try with your first purchase. If you're listening to this and you're like, I think I want to try my own sale, I have a link down below. This is a referral code. They are accepting only limited amount of people right now into selling, especially in the United States. I do know it's a little bit easier to get in with Canada, but try and use my referral code. Hopefully it prioritizes you. I think if you're a Canadian, you will probably get in pretty quickly, but I do know down in the States, it is pretty slow to get in to sell right now. And if you are already on Whatnot and you didn't sign up for onboarding to become a reseller, I'm going to drop my email down below. You can shoot me an email. I just have to get some information from you and I'll put in a personal referral for you. This only works if you haven't already signed up to be a reseller. One of the really cool things that I like about them is that they actually have training. So when you want to become a reseller, they have, it's like an hour or two Zoom call. There's usually a bunch of people and it's like a big group Zoom call where they kind of go through information. And then for Canadians, they actually do another Zoom call and it's just like Canada specific because there's a few changes for us regarding shipping, payout, things like that. So I did find that was really helpful. When I took my onboarding in April, I think there was like 5 or 6 of us. Another cool thing that I just found out is that they have a 6-week reseller program. So if you're struggling, you don't know where to start, maybe you had a sale that wasn't very successful, they actually have a reseller 6-week group program, which I thought was really cool. I actually might even take it just for fun to see what they're teaching in there, and maybe there's a few things that I could apply to my live sales. This is kind of the nitty-gritty. I've told you how it works, how to do it, the basics, how I ran my sale. It's pretty simple. Like, honestly, I didn't think this was very difficult to do. I was really enjoying the communications through the comments, being able to kind of just shine with my personality. I know not everyone feels comfortable doing this, just like not everyone feels comfortable buying on, you know, live auction bidding. So don't worry if you feel like this isn't a fit for you. But I also want to encourage, even if you feel like you're not comfortable in front of the camera, I would encourage you just to try it. What's, like, I always say, what is the worst case that could happen? 3 people show up to your show. Oh, well, that's okay. 3 people showed up to come see what you're doing, and like, yeah, you just have to try things. I know we're all scared of failure, but I do think we just got to try things. We have to try new things. We kind of have to step out of our bubble once in a while. You never know what can happen, right? I feel like I've discussed everything else in points throughout this video. Now we're going to get down to the numbers. This is the nitty-gritty. This is what you've stayed around till the end for. And you want to know, was it a success? Did I actually make money doing this? Will I be doing it again? Obviously, you guys know I'm going to be doing it again because I've been talking about it. I'm pretty excited. I am going to create multiple business models, especially and I already do that actually for different platforms. I mean, I generally list everything on To Posh, but I list different things on eBay and Etsy. I used to do Depop. I cross-list only certain items over to Facebook. So I do kind of run different business models and also pricing on different platforms. Of course, Whatnot's not going to be any different. I'm going to have to develop kind of a business model that works for this one. I listed, or my show was for 70 items. At the end of the day, I sold 63 items and the total sales were $1,303, which is fantastic. After Whatnot took their fees and commissions, the next payout amount, so the amount that hit my account, was $1,132. And this converted into Canadian dollars at 1,475-ish, we'll say. My cost of goods at best estimate was about $650. A lot of these items came from either a death pile or were personal items. Those were hard to put a value on it. So if it came from my personal closet, I put it as 0 because I've worn it, I've had it. It's like donating the item. And then death pile, again, I was making like my best estimate. Total profit from this, subtracting my cost of goods, was $820. And literally this sale was put together in 24 hours. I felt like it was a success. I feel like that is a really big success. I think it definitely helped that I was able to advertise really quickly in the short period of time. I think I will be planning my shows now 2 or 3 weeks out so that people have lots of time to bookmark them, plan, you know, maybe work around a schedule if they want to be there. My sales, I'm going to say, are like my auctions aren't as necessarily geared towards resellers. Like if you're going in there and you're hoping for $1 or $2 bid starts, that's just not going to happen. The items I'm selling are high quality. They're things that I would sell in Poshmark as well. And most of them are retailing for over $75. So the bid starts depend anywhere from like $5. I had some bid starts. Actually, I had a bid start, I think, at $30 or $35, and that was the Patagonia Chinchilla, which got bid up to $61. So don't be afraid to start a bid at your cost of goods, even if you feel like your cost of goods is high. And I thought that was crazy. I was like, no one's gonna bid on this. This is what my base is, and I'm not willing to accept less because I'm not losing money doing this, right? You just never know. And I think that if you can get good quality pieces, you definitely can justify the higher starting bids. Now, if you're selling like items that typically retail, you know, $35 to $45, then it is a little bit harder, right? Because their value just isn't there. My business model there probably is going to be more for the reseller that's looking for their own personal items, or maybe someone that shops in my Posh closet and has seen a few items for a while that they, you know, just maybe haven't been able to spend the money on, and then I will put it into Whatnot. So my business model going into Whatnot are probably gonna be gems that I find at a really good price. So there's gonna be some really great pieces, and then I'm probably gonna be pulling items that don't sell after 3 months. Doesn't mean they're not good items. Lots of people sit on inventory longer than 3 months, but for me, if it's out of season or if I've had it from the previous year's season, then I think I'm gonna pull it and put it onto Whatnot. This is my take. I think you can have different business models. I think you can run shows whichever way you want. I do know people are like, it seems scammy. Why are people doing giveaways? So my personal reason why I would do a giveaway is because I freaking love you guys, and how fun is doing a giveaway and spreading some of the wealth. So if I'm doing a show where I'm making some money on it, why wouldn't I want to do some giveaways? For me, I did Starbucks cards to the top 3 spenders, and that was just my thank you, my way of saying thank you for spending money in my show. There are lots of different ways that you can do this. I don't know, I'm not against giveaways. I could see myself doing them in my show, and it's more just my thanks for showing up, participating, having fun, and just being there for me. But yeah. Oh man, this was a lot of information. Now, if this content has helped you, if this video has helped you in any way and has answered some questions, make sure to give me a thumbs up and let me know, because I'm probably gonna be doing a few more videos on Whatnot, just kind of sharing my experience. And as I get better at it, you know, building processes, obviously sharing any information that I'm learning or working on. I think it's just another way to make money as a reseller. It may not work for everyone, but guess what? Everyone's not going to shop on it too. So I don't think it'll affect people like I don't think it has a huge impact on other people's sales. I think even Poshmark having lives, I think it's not going to have a huge impact on everyone's sales because there's so many people that just don't live bid. So yeah, don't stress about it. If you're interested, let me know. I dropped the links there, and yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to have another show. Make sure you bookmark it. I'll drop the link down below because it's coming up on Wednesday night. These are fun. I'd love to see you guys there. I love seeing my YouTube friends. Okay, wrapping this up. I am wishing you all many sales on whichever platform you're selling on, and I will see you next time. Thank you, guys. Bye.